In corporate America, when employees hear private equity, acquisition, IPO, they get worried about their future and their job. So let's talk a little bit about what that means in franchising. Welcome back to the Daily Coach YouTube channel. Today, I have my first ever daily double. My first repeat guest. You may remember his face. He is the president of development of the largest fitness franchisor in the world. His name is Lance. Lance, welcome back to Kim Daily TV.
Thank you for having me. Always fun to hang out, Kim.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. So, Lance, the reason I asked you back on the show is because Exponential Fitness recently did an IPO. And in corporate America, most of the candidates that we work with, right, are W-2 employees looking for an escape from the rat race or they're in career transition. And so in corporate America, when employees hear private equity, acquisition, IPO, they get worried about their future and their job. And that's why I thought this would be a really, really fun conversation for you to lead the charge with because you guys have just gone through an IPO. So you brought all of your brands were brought to market really with private equity. So let's talk a little bit about what that means in franchising.
Well, from my perspective, it's really all good, and I've been fortunate to have been in the industry now for 2.5 decades and have gone through some private transactions, and this is my first IPO experience, but it's been great for me. Relative to our IPO, our majority shareholder continued to maintain majority shares, after IPO. So really nothing changed for us in terms of our leadership, our teams, or anything in that matter, or really, how we're operating. The big thing for us is just really, I would say, a renewed or even more focus on growth. And so, from my perspective, growth is good for everyone, and so, in fact, we're not looking to, change the directives of the employees or get rid of people or downsize. You're looking to grow in every way. So I look at it in a number of ways. For one, really for the franchise partner, because they're the ones that always kind of wonder, oh, how is this going to change my life? And I always say, again, as a franchise partner, we're looking to do a number of things to grow the business. In their business itself, we want to grow their unit volumes. So how do we do that? By providing more support to help them drive more revenue into their business. How else can we do that? Provide additional revenue streams, again, to drive more revenue into their business. Because all those things, we want to grow the unit economics of every studio that we have in business today, which is now almost 2,000, so that we can continue to see, a larger unit volume across all systems. We're in the royalty business, so that's how we achieve that. The other thing I try to explain to people is there's also a renewed focus in continued growth of the brands from a development standpoint. Why? Because as we open more stores, we increase royalties for the system. But, I always look at it from a franchisee perspective, and I never understand it why some franchisees will look at other franchisees as competitors or that growing the system was not beneficial for them. Because if we don't grow it, it doesn't improve the brand equity or brand value that they bought into in the system. So as we continue to grow the business, that actually builds value in their asset. And then, so really kind of two things from a franchisee perspective. We're going to work on growing their unit volumes, adding more opportunities for them to be more profitable, make more money, but also it's not just about the income that they get out of the business. It's about building wealth and equity in their business. And the more that we grow the brand, the more brand equity that they'll have. And when you look at our most mature systems now, like Club Pilates or Pure Barre or Cycle Bar, there's a ton of brand equity there. If someone were wanting to get into that system, Anthony says that if you want to get a Club Pilates license, you should, if there's anything left, you should fall on it like a fumble and hang on to it for dear life, because there's just, they're very valuable at this point because we've developed that brand to a point where there's not much left now. So those are all just huge benefits for us, including more resources to do more of what we're doing. So, from our side, we're going to see more brands. We've got 9 now, and there's a 10th coming soon, and et cetera. Of course, we're not looking for brands that don't fit our portfolio or that we don't think that are going to be great for everyone involved, including our partners. But it gives us more resources to again go out, buy more brands, acquire brands even within modalities that we're in to continue even further dominance in those modalities. So there's so many great things for us that come out of this. Really, no downside that I have seen, from an employee or a shareholder perspective in terms of a transaction like this. Not to mention the fact of just getting your business on the big stage. I mean, the awareness that has been created now and the buzz around Exponential and our brands being, on the NASDAQ now. I mean, that's huge and just brings a lot of clout to our investors that, we are, a part of a unique group of businesses that have, made it to that level. And again, from a PR perspective, I mean, that's probably what, 30% of Anthony's time now, our CEO, is being, in front of the camera and TV and again, pitching, what Exponential is, which is again, all great for growth.
What's the NASDAQ sign for Expo?
XPOF.
It's POF. Okay. Expo
Yeah,
Fitness. Gotcha. All
there
right.
you got it. Yeah,
And
not
who got to go ring the bell? Were you there ringing the bell?
Oh gosh, this is a sad story. I was slated to be on the podium with Anthony and the other brand presidents, and got COVID the week before, and so could not travel. And I was physically fine actually. I just want to mention I'm healthy, I'm good, and didn't miss a day of work, didn't miss a workout. Just had to do the responsible thing, but. It was bittersweet because it was all over social media, and all my friends were like, "Hey, Lance, I didn't see you. What happened?" And so I had to tell that story over and over again. But it was still great to watch it happen and be a part of really growing this system, in a way. And so it's been really rewarding, even though I wasn't able to be there on stage. But was a little
Yeah.
heartbreaking for a minute because that was kind of a lifelong dream I had, and I was dreaming about it literally, and I was like, no, but
History-making moment. Yeah.
life. That's life, But again, so many positives that are coming out of this that it's all good.
So really, what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that it takes money to build a business. And the more
Yes,
money you have, the more options you're going to have to be able to build that business and dominate. Correct, Liz?
100%.
Listeners, when you think about the number one reason that businesses fail is what? If you've been on Kim Daily TV, you must know this. The number one reason is because people run out of money, not in a franchise business, but hopefully that doesn't happen in a franchise business because you can do more due diligence. But the number one reason that startup businesses fail is because entrepreneurs run out of money before they really figure out how to make money. So the idea that a franchisor can be backed with really an unlimited opportunity to keep growing and keep bringing research and development and keeping these brands on the cutting edge and ahead of the competition, ahead of the market, bringing the changes that will help them be the leader to dominate across all of their current 9 brands. And then, as Lance said, the 10th one's coming and more is coming. And what does that mean for you as the potential investor? That if you get in with one modality and there's no more territory around you to grow, you don't have to go find another franchisor. If you're happy with Expo and the family that you're in, you can grow into the next brand that they're putting in front of you, right, Lance? I mean, how amazing is that when you hear when my candidates today are in validation with a multi-unit Club Pilates franchise owner who came back to the table and bought multiple units of Yoga 6. I mean, that's the best validation ever, right?
It really is, because I always say people don't want to do more of something that isn't good. And so, I mean, we just had a Rumble confirmation day a couple weeks ago, and I had about 20 people in there, and literally almost half of them were existing Exponential franchisees. We had, Yoga 6 franchisees, Club Pilates franchisees, Row House franchisees in there. And the other 10, I swear they thought it was staged. So they were like, come on, did you guys plant these people in here? But no, it was real. They all are looking to expand into Rumble because a lot of them now are, we're sold out in the markets that they're in. So, but they want to keep growing. They want to keep scaling, and they can do that through the parent and a franchisor that they trust because they've done really well in their first brand. And so we love seeing that. And we have now hundreds of franchisees that own multiple units, but in multiple brands. And that says a lot, about the franchisor, I think, when you get to that position.
It sells a ton. And in 2021, coming out of a pandemic, guys, if you haven't already watched my interview with Lance about how Exponential Fitness maneuvered through 2020 and literally defied logic, you got to check out that video because it's absolutely amazing. Here are a couple statistics from that video that I heard Lance Freeman say. He said that in 2020, they awarded 300 more stores in a pandemic when the majority of their then 1,700 stores had their doors physically closed, right, Lance? You're still selling franchises. Like, how is that possible? You gotta go watch the video. Then another fun statistic is they opened another, do you love that I'm like your spokesperson? Another 250 stores. In a pandemic, you open another 250 fitness franchises? How is it possible? Got to check out my video with Lance, guys. The Daily Coach is always, always, always telling you when you invest in a franchise, you are not buying widgets. You're not buying fitness. You're not buying a modality. You are buying leadership. And these people at Exponential Fitness are world class. The reason they defied logic during 2020, the widgets, the modalities did not keep the doors open, but unprecedented leadership did. The leadership has always been the reason to buy a franchise, but in 2020, it became absolutely clear which franchises had that world-class leadership that could adapt and not just survive, but I mean thrive. And I have so many videos right here on Kim Daily TV for multiple franchisors in all different industries. But absolutely, if you're intrigued, check out my previous conversation with Lance. So Lance, I appreciate your time today. I want everybody out there who is a W-2 employee and maybe is listening to this video, ironically enough, in career transition because their job got eliminated because their business or their company was acquired, and you're like, that just burned me. Why would I ever want to get involved in a franchise that is, backed by private equity or is courting private equity or is leaning toward an IPO? Now you've kind of got some of the facts. I think it probably could go wrong if the leadership change, if there was a strong leadership change, but how would that really benefit like what they're paying? Like if you're, right, Lance, you know what I'm trying to say? Like if you're, especially with private equity, if you're coming in and putting millions of dollars to grow a brand but you're coming in and like completely changing the culture and upsetting all of the franchise owners, haven't you just destroyed the very business that you just paid all this money for?
It's actually the opposite. These groups want to tie that leadership in for many years to come, because they don't want to get rid of the pony that brought them to the dance. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and we've seen private equity work in automotive. I've seen it work in food. There are a couple of really, really big private equity companies that are just kind of coasting through franchising, gobbling up all kinds of companies. So, for more information on how to select the right business, for more information about businesses that defied the odds in 2020, I absolutely encourage you to leave a comment below or reach directly out to me at thedailycoach.com. Until next time, I want to remind you that I am Kim Daly. This is my great friend, Lance Freeman. I'm so grateful for your time today, Lance.
Oh, thank you for
And
having
I
me.
want to be your daily coach.